I would now like to invite Mr. Deepak Bagla, Managing Director and CEO Invest India, to please address us. Thanks.
Thank you, Chavi. Anuradha, I must compliment you. This is so well done indeed. You know, it feels good to be back home because quite many years ago, I used to spend a lot of my time in the DMA office, and you know, Rakesh and Yogesh both had to bear with me for many times, and Nina looks actually much younger than she ever did before. So I have to compliment. Some people can hold on to time, but Rakesh, you and I have really depreciated. So I have to tell you that. It just makes me feel good that I'm in some company. But listen, DMA has come a long way. And I think the kind of things, the events which I've been noticing which are happening, the kind of discussions which are happening around DMA are extremely relevant. And the topic which you picked up for today, and I've been told, Yogesh was telling me now this has been going on for the past few years. It wasn't there in our times. You know, we were still trying to get budgets to do things, but it's now working so well. And may I first congratulate and compliment each one of you. You're really the stars. You know, it's good to see so many old friends here. By the way, I must tell you, Chavi, I used to work for her in Citibank, and I used to work for Latika in Citibank. So both of them used to govern my life in many ways. But I must tell you now that we are talking on this subject, this is my second time when I was invited to speak or share my thoughts on this subject, which was on gender inclusion in many ways. The last one was last month, and there was this roundtable at Davos. And if I may say, it was probably one of the most sought after roundtables in Davos. And the only reason I was asked to moderate it, because they said they wanted a man on that panel just so that they can pull his leg and show them that they're down. So I was asked to moderate it. But it was a fascinating panel. From India, we had Smriti Irani, extremely spirited. And she spoke, and then we had people from across the globe. And one of the stories which stuck with me was from this lady from South Africa, from Mombasa. And how from her early childhood, all what she was trying to do was to see that the girl child in their village can get to school. And how she started off first with a soccer team. And what she said is that was the time when she felt that the girls could at least shout out and reach out to each other. Until then, their voices were not heard. And this was as recent as just about 4 years ago. She is now in the running for one of the Nobel Prizes. But what came out there, one, was the exceptional steps and the transformation which is happening in India in this context. You know, it's very interesting. And how much time do I have, Chavi? Okay, so until lunch I have the time. No, but it was very interesting. We are probably the most unprecedented transformation ever in human history in the free world is currently happening in India. At times you don't realize it because you're in the middle of that transformation. And the thing about that transformation is one of the biggest elements of that transformation is gender inclusion. And everyone in Davos acknowledged that after they heard Ms. Irani on the kind of things which are happening in the Indian context. There were two elements which came out. The first is inclusion is all about connectivity. How do each one of us connect with each other? And what is the opportunity we get to be able to connect? That was the first part. The second part after that was the participation. Think about connectivity. What is happening in India today? And you know the Digital India story, right? It was launched by the Honorable Prime Minister in July 2015. We are just about 84 months from there. In July 2015, our global ranking on per capita data consumption, and there's a reason why I'm coming on to this one, because that is what leads to the connectivity, that's what leads to the voice being brought in. Our global ranking on per capita mobile data consumption, and data consumption is the most important element as we go forward. You'll all agree with me that data is the new oil of growth, was 123 in the world. In just 84 months, actually not even 84, because last year at the same time, guess what was our ranking? You were number one in the world. you consumed more per capita mobile data than the US and China put together. And let me tell you, this story is just beginning because you are the largest not yet on the net. India is the largest not yet on the net. You're the second largest on the net. But interestingly, every second, 3 new people are joining the net in India. And 2 of them from a village. And don't forget, 11% of the world's population lives in our villages. This story has only just begun. We don't realize it, but this rapid transformation which we are all going through, and let me give you a few examples on what is happening. So one of the things which Invest India is also responsible for is Startup India. We are the execution arm for Startup India. In Startup India, for the past 48 months, women entrepreneur-led startups are increasing by 100%. Every year. Every year. The statistic also is that if you have a woman leader in a leadership role or in an ownership role in a startup, the chances of getting financing are 78%. You've already got the financing. And now let me tell you to the third part of it. You see, Startup India was launched when, if you recollect, January 16, 2016 by the Prime Minister. We are 80 months down the line? In 80 months, you are number 3 in the world in number of unicorns. You are number 2 in the world in number of startups. You are number 1 in the world with new startups adding every day. And in those unicorns, last year in the last quarter, you had more unicorns than any other country in the world, quarter-wise. Let me put it more in perspective. 2021, in the most unprecedented lockdown in human history. Remember, we were all just locked down in our homes. You added a unicorn every 29 days. Last year, that lockdown continued. You added a unicorn every 9 days. You're seeing this pace of transformation. All what I'm trying to explain to you is the scale and the pace at which this change is happening. And the center of this transformation is gender inclusion. I come from an organization and we are a young startup of the government. We started only in 2015. And on a gender side, we are trying to now try and keep some positions which are only for men because we are in far minority. It's not really working. But I'll tell you what is happening on the flip side to it. It's the world's first investment promotion agency, which by the UN was rated as number 1 in the world in a short period of 48 months. The most efficient plant of Ericsson in the world. You remember Ericsson, your first mobile phone? That big green one? It was also like a personal security device. You could hit somebody with it. You know, that used to be assembled in India. The most efficient plant they had in the world was here. And guess what it was? 98% of that plant had women workers. Foxconn. So now you're going to order your new iPhone 14. That's also being made in India. You get the purple one, Nina. I think it looks well. In that factory near Tamil Nadu, 90% plus are women. This story is changing at a very rapid rate. All what you're seeing in the next 9,000 years will be 100 years. 15th August 2047, we'll turn 100. And that's just 9,000 days away from today. That's not too far. At that time, 20% of the world's middle class will be in India. 21% of the world's workforce will be from India. And in that workforce, it will be the gender inclusion which will take it on. That is where I was telling you that the moment digitization is happening for the first time in our history of the past 7,000 years, do we have each and every individual empowered to participate in the growth of this country and our society and to partake from that growth, the benefits which are happening. And just imagine the power as we move forward. You'll have 1.6 billion human resource on the planet. By the way, last month you have already become the largest human resource on the planet. You've overtaken China. But you know what's interesting? The average age of India today is 29. You will be the youngest nation on the planet all the way up to 2070. And the gender inclusion gets picked up from there. So with that, we do want to celebrate and thank each one of you, because you are our story. Not of yesterday, not just of today, but for tomorrow. So thank you and congratulations. And I just want to say the story has just begun and you're all going to be leading it. Thank you.